Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have Michael here with us. He's the founder of Building Life Foundation, a coaching platform focused on helping people rebuild their lives after setbacks. So, Michael, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hello, my name is Michael Barnes. I am the owner and chief executive officer of Building Life Foundations, a coaching ecosystem where I don't just do one-on-one coaching. I do book sales, I do uh, public public speaking engagements, and I also obviously become a guest on podcasts, and I'll be launching my own starting next Monday.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. So, Michael, tell us a little bit more about what is the Building Life Foundation?
Building Life Foundations, and again, is an ecosystem. It's the best way to put that, and I just came up with that term about 10, 15 minutes ago. Okay. And I draw from my own experiences overcoming a difficult childhood, personal mistakes I have made, and even major life pivots. And I teach practical mindset and personal development strategies that help individuals regain confidence, clarity, and direction. My work centers on what I call the Phoenix mindset, the belief that failure isn't the end of the story, but the starting point for rebuilding stronger. Through coaching, writing, and podcasting, I help people develop the internal foundations many were never taught growing up, including confidence, resilience, and personal accountability.
Phenomenal. Okay. So, in terms of your inspiration, what inspired you to actually start this business?
That would have to be in December of 2020. COVID was coming to an end, but I had made a really big mistake. And I get a phone call from my lawyer saying my CDL had been revoked. Right
Okay.
there, I was a driver for 22 years. And I just got told with one phone call that my career was over. So I moved in with a friend, and he said, "You're going to need time to decompress. Use it." And I did that for a couple of weeks. But then I started thinking, and I said, "Okay, what do I need to change?" All in all, there are two things people need to change when you boil it down. One is your internal thought process, yourself, and two, your external influences. Those two. When you boil it down, I know they're very broad subjects, but those two items will, once they're changed, will give you the best opportunity to succeed again. Everyone's familiar with the Phoenix metaphor. Okay, my book, The Phoenix Within, my second book, deals exactly with how to rebuild your life after some sort of really huge event. But the Phoenix metaphor does not work just once. It can be applied to everything, every big event, every little event that happens in your life. And whether that be career, whether that be relational, whether that be just environment, it can be applied in every instance.
Definitely. And so you have a couple of books that you published as well. Can you tell us a little
Yes.
bit more about that?
The first one um, is called From Turmoil to Transformation. It gives more of an insight into my childhood and what lessons I drew from those, albeit a whole lot later. And the Phoenix Within what is the framework I used to achieve where I'm at today.
Oh, interesting. And can you tell us a little bit more about like how Building Life Foundation actually helps? How do you help your clients?
Well, as I used it, I used the term ecosystem earlier, and it is a framework. And my whole business is surrounded by and is using a framework of that ecosystem to become successful. And what Building Life Foundations does is it lays the foundations. So no matter how many times you have to rebuild, you can go right back to the basics and always have those lessons, always have that experience, and always have that wisdom that you can use to rebuild after a career, after a relationship, after an ecosystem and your community type of a change. Because if you don't, and that shock happens, you'll be just like I was back in 2020, wondering what to do.
Exactly. Okay. And what's one piece of advice you can share with our audience if they're in that kind of situation?
When something that big happens, when something that traumatic happens, there is a very strong sense of failure. Sometimes adversity, most of the time failure, but that doesn't define your future. That is the beginning of your future. Because with the phoenix metaphor, we all know this. It rises from the ashes. The ashes is from the previous thing that you failed from. Now the chance to rise again, stronger, more confident, and ready to take on the world.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so if people want to actually find out more about you, learn more about you, connect to you, or maybe like find your books as well, how they can do that?
Well, they can go to my website, buildinglifefoundations.com. And I'm in the middle of a rework, so the information's there. It's just really oddly colored right now. My links to my books are there. Links to podcasts that I've been on already are there. Plus, I'm designing another section to be a pointer for my podcasts, which are launching Monday morning.
Great. Okay. I mean, it's fantastic that you are starting podcast. Really well done on that. And then, yeah, just before we go, if you can actually tell us a little bit more about, how do you help people actually regain confidence? Because I see this is one of the things that are affecting a lot of people at the moment. A lot of people are sort of they lost confidence. They maybe read news. They get some bad news as well themselves and things like that. So yeah, a lot of people are actually affected by this. So how do you help them regain confidence?
Number one, breathe. Number two, count to 7. Most people say count to 5. I say count to 7 because you'll need that extra 2 seconds. And then if you do those 2 things, you'll realize, okay, I've been through worse and I'm still standing here.
Wow. I think on that note we should finish this fantastic episode. Thank you so much for that great advice. Thank you all for watching and listening. If you have any questions for Michael or me, you can actually ask them in the comments. And then on top of that, yeah, Michael, this was great. I would like to see you again. We're doing these short episodes, but definitely it's really nice to see you again because I think there is so much more you can share with our audience. So yeah, see you all in the next episode. All the best, and Michael, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye bye.